meeting of the Suez Town Council at 2 p.m. on Monday, November the 19th, 2018. So first off is the adoption of some minutes, the regular open minutes of November the 5th, 2018, and the special open minutes of November the 7th, 2018. Could we have a motion, please? Thank you. Councillor Rhodes, Councillor King. All in favor? Thank you. And no business arising from prior minutes? No. Introduction of late items. We do have one late item, and that is the WE Day report, and that will be put under business number 9. And so I need a motion, please, to adopt the minutes or the agenda as amended. Thank you. Councillor Bennett, Councillor King, all in favor. Thank you. No delegations, so we'll look to water matters first. And this is a report from Water Districts 8 and 9 financial accounts, and to report on expenditures from accounts payable for water councillors and council approval. So Water District cash requirements to November the 19th in the amount of $53,598.60 for council approval.
I move.
Thank you. Could we have a seconder? Councillor Rhodes. Thank you. All in favor? I just wanted to point out that this amount is fairly high this month, and in looking at it, I see that Fortis had that was quite a large expense attributed to Fortis, and Director Zackel has said that that was because of the pumps being it's bi-monthly that we do it.
That's
and right. And the pumps have been shut down now, and this is probably why the expense was up there a little bit this time. Good, thank you. Correspondence, no, and bylaws. The loan authorization bylaw, first 3 readings, and that would be Mr. Zackel.
Thank you, Member Kordoff. So before Council is loan authorization bylaw 1347-2018, and this is to establish loan authorization bylaw to allow the town of Osuis to borrow funds to secure financing for the main lift station reconstruction project. The sewer main lift station reconstruction project is a very significant upgrade required in our sewer infrastructure. This is a $5.989 million project, with $3.5 million coming through borrowing and the remainder from reserves and operating funds. This project is included in our town's 5-year financial plan. The road realignment portion of this project was started in 2018, with the construction set to begin in 2019. This project also received preliminary approval from the Okanagan Basin Water Board for a sewer facility assistant grant, and the amount is yet to be determined. For the borrowing of this project, Council is required to get elector assent. This can be done in 2 ways. The first method is the AAP, which is the alternative approval process. This is the least cost alternative as well as the quickest. Council would give first 3 readings to the loan authorization bylaw, then pass a resolution that they would seek elector approval through the AAP process. The town would advise their electors in 2 consecutive weeks of the Osuis Times, and if the electors were opposed, they would come into the town office and sign a petition sheet stating they are not in favor. This process is open for our residents for 30 days. If the petition reaches 10% or more than the number of eligible voters for the town of Osuis, the AAP process would fail. The next step for Council to consider if the AAP process fails is proceed with by referendum. This process takes approximately 90 days and will cost approximately $8,000 and is fairly costly. However, for the approval process to pass, only 50% plus 1 must vote in favor. The total number of eligible voters in the town of Osuis is 4,120 residents and 949 non-residents voters for a total of 5,069. The recommended option is the alternative approval process for this borrowing. Administration supports the AAP process in this situation is based on the critical nature of the infrastructure needed to be developed in a short time frame to implement the project. This must be replaced in an identified time-sensitive period, which was the result of delaying the project in order to receive grant support. Several failed grant applications have resulted in this infrastructure needing to be fully funded. by the community in a very short period of time. So the maximum amount of borrowing for this project, the construction including our contingency, was $5.9 million. Our contribution from our town operating reserve funds was $2,489,000, so a total estimated borrowing of up to $3.5 million. This borrowing would be through the Municipal Finance Authority over 20 years, and it's currently estimated at a percentage interest rate of 3.31%. So the annual debt payment is estimated at $246,105 for a 20-year period. The debt payments will be recovered through existing sewer revenues and grant funding from the Okanagan Basin Water Board. So implications on the community is ensuring the town's infrastructure is in good working order, organizationally, administration to work or follow through the process. Budget, project is in the 5-year financial plan. Budget will be amended to reflect current estimate with contingency factor. Significant dates, bylaw will be given first, second, and third readings before the bylaw can be forwarded to the Inspector of Municipalities for approval. Once approval is received from the Inspector of Municipalities, the town is to advertise in 2 consecutive weeks of the OCS Times, providing the public notice of the alternative approval process. The elector then would have 30 days from the last issue date of the notice being published to register their opposition of borrowing. And if less than 10% of the electors sign the alternative approval process, then the noted borrowing for council may proceed to adoption. Under sustainability, ensures funding secured for the reconstruction of the main lift station project. So options before council: to give loan authorization bylaw 1347-2018 first 3 readings and send off to the Inspector of Municipalities for their approval. Option 2, to delay first 3 readings and make amendments to bylaw 1347. Option 3, for council to obtain elector assent through the alternative approval process, the AAP. And option 4, for council to obtain elector assent through a referendum. And administration's recommendations, we're looking for 2 separate resolutions. The first one is option 1, and this project is in the town's 5-year financial plans scheduled for completion in 2019, and that's to give loan authorization bylaw 1347-2018 first 3 readings and send off to the Inspector of Municipalities for their approval. The second recommendation administration is looking for is option number 3, and this is the quickest and least cost approach to obtaining elector assent, and that's for council to obtain elector assent through the alternative approval process.
Good, thank you very much. This is a pretty important project. It's been put off a couple of times because we were hoping to get some grants for this, and we haven't. I think that we need to take this seriously. Is there anyone on council who would like to? Thank you, Councillor Rhodes.
Thank you, Mayor McCordoff. I'll move the first recommendation, option number 1, to give loan authorization bylaw 1347 of 2018 first 3 readings and send off to the Inspector of Municipalities for their approval.
Thank you. Is there a seconder? Thank you, Councillor King. Anybody like to go ahead?
Thank you, Madam Mayor. Mr. Zackel, if this goes forward and we borrow the money, is there still a way to write any grants to offset some of the costs?
Absolutely. So the borrowing bylaw basically allows us to borrow up to the $3.5 million. If we find additional grant funding or that, it would definitely reduce that amount. So this is just basically putting in paper and legal proceedings to be able to borrow up to that amount. We don't have to borrow exactly that amount.
Thank you.
Director Zackel, how, if this was sent off to the Inspector of Municipalities, how much time does that normally take?
It can take up to 6 weeks for Inspector of Municipalities approval. What I have done is I have given them the heads up notice that my report was coming to council, the bylaw, so I've given them all that information. So they've actually reviewed it from the administration standpoint, okay, and let me know that everything is in line. So hopefully that process will speed up just a little bit.
Okay, thank you. So it's been moved and seconded that we go with option number 1. All in favor? Thank you. That's carried. Is there someone who would like to make a second motion? Councillor Rhodes?
Thank you, Mayor McCordoff. After sitting in the regional district orientation for 2 days last week, I'm not sure if Mayor McCordoff is appropriate anymore. We spent about an hour and a half on how to address our mayors and council.
Well,
And-
you're not going to say your worship.
And my option was not on the list. So I'll move option number 3, for council to obtain elector assent through the alternative approval process.
Thank you. Thank you. Councillor Bennett seconding that. Anybody like to speak to that? Yes, go ahead.
Thank you, Mayor McCordoff. Never really been a big supporter or in favor of the AAP process in the past. Sometimes it has, a way of disguising the purpose behind, and it is the exact opposite of having a referendum, so to speak. In this particular case, I'm very supportive of it. This is something that's going to happen anyway, and it's to not only upgrade, but to add sustainability to how we get our sewage up to our ponds. And I think this is a very, very good way to move forward with this decision. Yeah.
Thank you. So it was moved and seconded. We'll take the vote. All in favor? Thank you very much. That's carried.
Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Zackel. And our next item is the report official community plan amendment bylaw and zoning amendment bylaw, and that would be Ms. McKay, please.
Thank you, Mayor McCordoff. Will I organize myself? Okay, so this report is in respect of a proposal to amend the official community plan and rezone the zoning bylaw for properties located at 9110 and 9120 Main Street. The owner of the property is Desert Lagoons Limited, and the applicant is Kevin Welsh from Precision Building and Design. And the current OCP designation on part of these properties, and we'll get into that in a second, is comprehensive development, and the proposed zoning is high-density residential. The existing, OCP designation, and then the existing zoning is currently comprehensive development zone 8, and high-density residential is the target zone. So the purpose of this report is request that council consider OCP amendment bylaw number 1230.21, which is attached to this report, and zoning amendment bylaw number 1085.108, which is also attached to this report. The applicant is proposing to develop these 2 vacant parcels with a 47-unit townhome development. Note that this property was previously approved for a mixed-use medical commercial building and 3 residential buildings with maximum of 8 stories. The current proposal is 47 townhomes. 14 of the townhomes will have basement suites included within them, and it is anticipated that these suites will provide much-needed market rental housing for local residents. The suites will also provide for mortgage helpers. Each unit will have its own designated parking pad. With respect to the content, you'll note on the map that's included in your report that a portion of the property is designated under the OCP comprehensive development, and a portion of it still remains as high-density residential. So prior to approval of the mixed-use development, that was for the medical center and the commercial use, and then the high-density residential, these properties were previously designated for high-density residential. The current proposal, if approved, would see both properties being returned to their original designation of high-density residential. The HR designation is consistent with properties to the north and south and adjacent to Peanut Pond. In accordance with the plan's residential policies, which is in Section 9, the OCP seeks to accommodate a range of densities throughout the town. Higher density developments are encouraged to locate close to the town center and within walking distance of daily needs, that's groceries, medical, dental offices, etc. The development permit for forming character will also be required, and attachment 2 of this report actually demonstrates how the proposal will take advantage of the slope of the properties to create an attractive strata subdivision. Additional details will be required prior to the issuance of the development permit. Conceptual renderings are included in attachment 5 to this report, and again, that's just preliminary. It's just to give an idea of what we're looking at this time. So the proposed rental units are in line with the town's policy encouraging affordable rental units to be located within walking distance of the town's amenities, including public transportation and public schools. The proposed zoning of high-density residential, that's the R7 zoning, will allow for a maximum of 75 units per hectare. The 47-unit townhome development, in addition to the 14 rental units, is well within the maximum densities permitted for this site, which is approximately 2.3 hectares or 5.6 acres in size. Analysis of the site. Access will be predominantly through Vedette Drive. It's going to serve as the primary access to the proposed development. Vedette Drive requires full reconstruction for this purpose. Attachment number 6 to this report demonstrates the proposed improvements to Vedette Drive overlaid on an aerial photo. For your reference, the town and the developer will cost share these improvements. The developers agreed to cost share to the amount of 50% or $200,000, whichever is greater. We have a cost estimate of about $410,000 for the improvements to Vedette Drive. So a contribution of $200,000 is well appreciated. A future pedestrian trail is proposed along the edge of Peanut Pond. A public easement and the construction cost will be secured across the property as part of the subdivision process. The actual construction of the trail will not take place until such time as the mobile home park at 9102 Main Street is redeveloped, at which time the town will secure the trail connection to 89th Avenue. So that will provide a pedestrian trail access and connection from Vedette Drive through to town at 89th Avenue. The rationale for recommendation is as follows. Staff recommends approval as a proposed amendment to the OCP and zoning bylaw will enable a new townhome development in our community. The development will take advantage of this great location within walking distance to Lakeview Plaza, Gateway Plaza, and the downtown and public transit. With respect to implications for the community, the developer is holding a public information meeting on November 29th from 6:30 to 8:30 p.m. The neighboring properties are being notified of this meeting. So we provided a mailing list to all those neighborhood properties, and that mailing will go out today. And we will probably try to contact them another method if we hear that they're not receiving them as a result of the postal strike. Organizationally, the OCP amendment and the rezoning process requires a public hearing. Bylaw adoption will be placed on hold until the required information for the development permit has been received and reviewed. The applicant will also be required to secure any off-site improvements prior to subdivision approval. The proposal will have no immediate impacts to the budget. However, the town's portion of the improvements to Vedette Drive and the impact to the budget will be discussed in a future report to council and will be influenced by the timing for the project construction. With respect to significant dates, staff are proposing a public hearing date of December 17th at 4 p.m. That's your next council in December. And sustainability town policy for residential growth and development includes encouraging higher density developments to locate closer to the downtown area. The options before council today are as follows. Option number 1 is in 3 parts. That first is that council grants first and second reading to OCP amendment bylaw number 1230.21, and B, council grants first and second reading to zoning amendment bylaw number 1085.108, and C, council sets a public hearing date of December 17, 2018 at 4 p.m. Option 2, council rejects the amending bylaws. Option 3, council requests additional information before proceeding further. And option 4, council recommends any other action deemed appropriate, and staff are recommending option number 1. Thank you, Mayor McCormick.
Thank you very much. So we really have 3 motions that are required. Option A, B, and C, if that's the way it goes. Okay, fair enough. Is there anybody who would like to make a motion? Thank you, Councillor Rhodes.
Thank you, Ma'am. Can I ask a couple of questions first?
Absolutely.
Oh, sure, go ahead. Mm-hmm.
So I really like this proposal. Almost everything about it makes sense. The densification is something that's really important for us, but on that overlay on the aerial photo with the improvements on Vedette Drive. So that's going to be a lot of residents in there with a lot of vehicles, and that at best is a minimalist intersection the way it sits right now. So we're going to improve that a little bit. And I know I've asked this before, but when you leave there, you would have two choices basically, to go to Jubilee down the improved part or through the parking lot. And, you know, I have no idea which, you know, egress or ingress that anybody would choose at any particular time, but you have to assume that a fair number of residents would race across the parking lot. And, you know, basically that's what it is a parking lot, and I'm wondering if we're able to address that in some way.
Right.
It's a lot of traffic. There's a lot of traffic that goes through there now, and it's very confusing for people. And, you know, when you factor in the path of least resistance, I can see a lot of people going in through the parking lot and creating some chaos and disorganization, and probably a little bit of safety that would have to be thrown in there as well. So do we have plans to improve that area as well?
So,
And can I just add, too,
Sure.
that the hotel that's in there is expanding as well, so there could be added parking. Am I correct? I'm not sure.
And I have one more
Thank
question,
you.
too, that I may ask, if I could as well.
absolutely.
Is that the only way of getting in and out of there? And is that appropriate for that many residents?
Okay.
And what if you have a blockage of that entrance in a fire, for example?
Okay. So, thank you, Councillor Rhodes. So, through the chair, I can answer all your questions. So, with respect to access through Lakeview Plaza, we did discuss this with previous council when the Super 8 came forward with their development permit for the second phase of the hotel, and as council that was on last term will recall the conversation that we had, and for the benefit of new councillors and those listening, it's a little bit tricky because we don't. It is a parking lot. It isn't identified specifically as a road. We will be approaching the new owners of the Lakeview Plaza and discussing with them an opportunity to delineate specifically a road that would sort of go circumnavigate around the parking lot instead of, you know, and sort of as the crow flies through the parking lot. So we will be approaching them on this if council chooses to move forward with the zoning amendment and the OCP amendment. So we do recognize that it is a problem. Now I'll speak to the Super 8 and then we'll go back to the access. So the Super 8 has an easement for access agreement across that parking lot to access their property. That was put in place when the two pieces of parcel, the original parent parcel was subdivided to subdivide off the parcel that became the Super 8, because it was all at one time one parcel. So the Super 8 parcel was subdivided off, and at that time an easement for access agreement was registered on title across the parking lot to access the Super 8. Okay, so the Super 8 continues to benefit from that access only. The parking requirements for the Super 8 and the extension of the Super 8 are all being addressed on site, so they're not impacted. The parking lot the parking lot at Lakeview Plaza isn't impacted by that additional improvements to the Super 8, the extension of that property. So that's the first thing. The second thing is with respect to access. The applicants have included a secondary access for emergency service vehicles only from the highway. Response back from Ministry of Transportation, they've already provided their formal response at this point, is that they're in favor of that access being for emergency service vehicles only, and they will not allow it to be opened up for any other purpose. I went back and I reviewed the previous proposal, and this has been a long-standing situation, even with respect to the previous application that was reviewed. So they are in support of the proposal if that access is for emergency service vehicles only. In speaking with the fire chief, he doesn't see any problem serving this property for emergency service for fire protection, and that the properties that back onto, which is the light blue ones in your on page attachment number 3 of the report, indicate that they could fight fires on those those units from the highway, and within the strata development with the internal road structure the way it is. So I hope that's answered your questions.
How would the residents get out, though?
So if there was an emergency, we would open up that access. When we say emergency vehicles, we mean people exiting, could also exit that way, if they were not able to exit down Vedette. We recognize that it is a bit of a challenge with that Valiant Lane, and we will be looking at options around that, and as I say, having a conversation with the property owner. Council may recall that we did discuss the possibility of closing Valiant Lane, so not allowing the through traffic to proceed through there. It's not something that we look favorably upon for service vehicles, but also for people that live in the area. They actually like that access. And of course the business owners also like it as well, because that means that people can access their businesses without having to go via the highway, right? So we see the benefit in keeping it open, albeit a little bit more restricted access would be good. So thank you.
Okay, you okay with that? Okay, Councillor King.
Yeah, thank you, Madam Mayor. When you talked about when the properties got split originally, and hypothetically there's a road leading to the Super 8, was it identified where on that parking lot, or just?
Yes, it's actually registered on title of where it is. You basically enter from the highway, you turn right, and then you turn left, and then you enter. Yeah.
Okay, but it's never really been marked very well to identify.
Well, it doesn't need to be marked because it's an easement for the hotel access only. But no, it is not marked on the ground.
Okay.
Thank you.
Councillor Harvey?
Thank you, Madam Mayor. I'm just wondering, in terms of a strata, is there any way to restrict or to ensure that it's always available for families with children? That is, they don't, as a strata board, put on an age restriction.
That's a good question. Thank you, Councillor Harvey, again, through the chair. We can certainly have that conversation, although I would think that that would not be looked favorably upon from any developer saying that it can only be restricted to families. I think that they'd be looking at a variety of housing forms.
Yeah, I wasn't saying restricted to families, but allow families, because there are a number that have passed resolutions that restricted to 55 and over. And I wouldn't want to see that happen here.
No, thank you. Again, Councillor Harvey, through the chair, that's a very good point, and I can assure you this developer has provided 4 different specific types of homes within this development that would provide for housing for a variety of persons in different ages. And that's actually one of the reasons I'm working with the developer to include these mortgage helper suites so that young families looking to get into the market would have an opportunity. And we would be looking to covenant the property in such a way that it cannot be used for short-term rental accommodation.
Good. So I was going to ask about that too. So the 47-unit townhome, 14 of the townhomes will have basement suites, and those are for rental housing.
Right.
So when you purchase one of those, you know that that's what you have in your basement, and that is because that will certainly help our rental housing market if that's the case.
Right, and if I may, thank you, Mayor McCordoff. Just for clarity, because it's a little difficult to read unless you're zooming in on your screen there, the light blue townhomes and the yellow townhomes are the ones that would have the suites, but only the townhomes at the end of the block. So the townhomes in the middle don't have the suites, only the townhomes at the end, because then they can have a parking pad immediately adjacent to them.
Okay.
So it does provide for, it's much nicer for, obviously, for the tenant. So we want to make something that's nice and enjoyable for the tenant to live in as well. But you don't see that same sort of traffic or parking problem with them being in the sort of the middle units. So that's the idea around the design.
Okay.
And
Sorry, go ahead.
I'm sorry, I did want to mention that the developers had intended to be here, but it just didn't work with their time schedules, so they wanted to make sure that I sent their regrets to Mayor and Council.
Thank you. Councillor Bennett.
Thank you, Mayor.
Good, turn your mic on.
You
Turn your
I think your microphone's not on.
It's on now.
No?
Yep.
There you go.
Just a question on Vedette Drive. The vehicles all back out there to turn around. Most of them pull in, they back out on the road. Is that wide enough still? I'm just picturing when I drive down there, and I see most of the vehicles are pulled in the driveway. If they back out, are they going to be backing out onto the roadway, or is that going to be a problem?
Thank you, Councillor Bennett. Again, through the chair, actually, if you look more closely, if you can zoom in on the PDF on your screen, I think you can see that there is room for them to pull out and still remain on their property, at least for those townhomes on the east side. The ones on the west side, there's actually a limited number that actually would have to back out onto the street, but you know, it's definitely, people will be driving slowly through there in order to avoid each other, I would think. But this is one of the reasons we also include things like trees and that kind of stuff along the streets. It gives that narrowing perception like we've done in other streets in our community so that people will slow down. But, you know, it's not unlike people backing out of their driveway onto the street in, you know, other parts of our community.
Well, thank you, because you've looked at, I think you've answered the questions, and you've certainly looked at some of these issues that have been brought up. So, do you have thank you, Councillor Rhodes.
Thank you, Mayor McCordoff. I'll move option 1A. So you want 3 different ones?
Yep.
Yes, we require them in that order. Thank you.
Okay, as it's worded in the report.
Thank you.
Second that.
Councillor seconding that. All in favor of that? Thank you very much. Could we have a second resolution about the zoning? Councillor King?
I'll make a motion on 1B. Council gives first, second readings to zoning amendment bylaw 1085.108.218.
And a seconder for that? Thank you. Councillor Rhodes? All in favor? Thank you. And public hearing date? Is there somebody who'd like to make a motion for that? Thank you. Councillor Rhodes? Go ahead.
Thank you, Mayor McCordoff. I'll make a motion based on the wording in 1C.
Thank you. Is there a seconder for that one? Thank you. Councillor Harvey? All in favor? Thank you very much. Well, thank you. That sounds like an interesting plan, and I think it somehow fits into our town renewal project that we looked at this morning, because it looks like this would be a walkable area for people to get to town, so it seems to fit.
Yes, thank you. We've been working on it for a while now, so it's good to get it to here.
Thank you very much. I'd just like to go back to the previous report on the loan authorization bylaw. I see that the bylaw form in there has Mayor Wells' name at the bottom, and I'm wondering if that would be possible to update that. Thank you very much. I meant to point it out before.
Short memories.
Yeah, right. It's been a few years. Okay. We are now on to the zoning amendment bylaw. Ms. McKay, you're on again. Thank you.
Thank you, Mayor McCordoff. I was just having a flashback to a few council meetings ago when I had like 6 in a row, but this is only 2. So
you did, but before you start, could you please introduce the our planner, or were you going to do that at a different stage? I see.
we were going to do it later.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. Fair enough. Thank you.
Okay. So the next report is for a rezoning proposal for 8304 72nd Avenue, and the owner is Witz Holdings, and the applicant is Richard Stagg for Canna Cabana. The OCP designation for this parcel is downtown commercial. The existing zoning on the parcel is C1, or downtown commercial, and the proposed zoning is C1S, which is downtown commercial site specific. Now, the proposal is for a site-specific use to add retail cannabis sales to this specific property. Okay, so the purpose of this report is to request that council consider zoning amendment number 1085.110. The amending bylaw, if adopted, would allow for site-specific retail cannabis store to be located at 8304 72nd Avenue. The Liquor and Cannabis Regulation Branch, that's the LCRB of the Province of British Columbia, will not issue a private retail license without local government approval. The provincial licensing process, coupled with the site-specific zoning provision, will allow for a one-step process for consideration of cannabis sales in the town. Specifically, comments received through the rezoning process will be provided to the province for consideration during the provincial licensing process. The LCRB has produced the Cannabis Retail Store License Terms and Conditions, a handbook for the sale of non-medical cannabis in British Columbia, as a guidebook for retail store license holders. This handbook sets out the conditions of retail licensing. The guidebook has been attached to this report for information purposes as Appendix A. The handbook addresses a number of specific issues which may be of concern to our community, including service training, store layout, security, and display of goods. So these items are not discussed in this report. They're being handled by the province. Overview, the site context and proposal. The applicant is proposing to open a retail cannabis store at 8304 72nd Avenue in Osuz. The property is the former site of the Osuz sign shop. This picture below shows the existing building, which is going to be used by the Canna Cabana for a retail cannabis store. With respect to policy context, zoning bylaw. The text amendment is required as retail sales of cannabis is not permitted use within the town of Osuz. At the October 15, 2018 meeting, Council adopted zoning amendment bylaw number 1085.109, which added the following section to the zoning bylaw, section 4.22. Council may approve a rezoning application for cannabis sales as a site-specific permitted use in the C1 downtown commercial zone, the C2 shopping center commercial zone, and the C3 highway commercial zone, with consideration of policy PLA-019 and any additional information Council deems appropriate, including all or some of the information required through the provincial licensing process. Accordingly, the applicant has submitted an application to rezone property located at 8304 72nd Avenue, which is within the C1 or the downtown commercial zone. With respect to the official community plan, as per section 10.4 the OCP, Osuz has been fortunate to maintain its traditional downtown Main Street, which is a major attraction for residents and tourists alike. Accordingly, the downtown has its own unique OCP land use designation and zone. The OCP policies promote an attractive and dynamic mix of complementary downtown uses and encourage a variety of businesses to locate in the downtown, including retail and service businesses, financial institutions, government and professional offices, housing above commercial floor space, arts and cultural activities, and inviting public spaces. Additional policies seek to retain and promote businesses to locate in the downtown area and discourage outward migration of businesses to other areas. The proposed use of this property is, therefore, considered to be in conformance with the official community plan and the policies therein. Analysis. Policy number PLA-019. At their September 4th, 2018 meeting, Council adopted the policy being the Cannabis Retail Sales Site-Specific Rezoning Considerations Policy. The intent of the policy is to ensure that all rezoning proposals which will be reviewed based on the same criteria. As per the policy, the subject property provides adequate access and egress and 4 on-site parking spaces. Additional parking spaces for customers is also available on 72nd Avenue. Parking for employees is available at the Town of Osuz day-use parking lot at the corner of 74th Avenue and 87th Street. The property is not highly visible from the prominent tourist route of Main Street. The picture shows the on-site parking for those that don't have the application in front of them, or the report. Staff is of the opinion that this location is suitable for the proposed use and will enable a new business to be established in the town of Osuz. Implications with respect to community: to promote an attractive mix of complementary commercial uses to benefit the community and provide service year-round and support continued commercial development within a limited land base. Organizationally, the rezoning process requires a public hearing. Should the amending bylaw receive third reading, it would then be placed on hold until such time as the town is notified by the province that the applicant has been successful in obtaining the necessary approvals from the province. The applicant will also need to comply with any additional requirements as may be required through the business license program. A development permit for forming character is also required. Staff will bring forward this permit for council's consideration at the time of final adoption of the amending bylaw. There are no impacts to the budget associated with this report. Significant dates. Staff are proposing a public hearing date of December 3rd, 2018 at 4 p.m. Sustainability. Town policy for commercial growth includes avoiding sprawling development. Options are as follows. Option number 1 in 2 parts. Council grants first and second reading to zoning amendment bylaw number 1085.110, and Part B, Council sets a public hearing date of December 3rd, 2018 at 4 p.m. Additional options. Option 2, Council rejects the zoning amendment bylaw number 1085.110. Option 3, Council requests additional information before proceeding further. And Option 4, Council recommends any other action deemed appropriate, and staff are recommending option number 1. Thank you.
Thank you very much. So, would anybody like to comment on this or make a motion?
Good question.
Yes.
Hey, thank you, Madam
Councillor
Mayor.
King?
I presume you'll be bringing forward the cost of a business license for this type of business? It's kind of interesting people are moving forward without really knowing the end cost.
That's a very good question. So the CAO and I are working on a report to council with an option for council on how they want to proceed with updating the zoning bylaw. We'll bring that forward on December 3rd on Committee of the Whole in the morning for discussion. Just so council's also aware, we have not yet received a referral from the province, so I anticipate that the process will unfold all in good time. But yes, I agree.
But he's asking for a permit to do some development there.
Oh, so a development permit, that's different than a
Gotcha.
business license permit.
No,
Yeah,
he's just
I
asking for a
understand.
zoning change.
Yeah, right now he's looking just for the
I
zoning
know.
change.
Okay,
Yeah.
thank you.
And that's an amendment to the business license bylaw, not the zoning bylaw.
Oh, I'm sorry?
You said an amendment.
Oh, no, an amendment to the business license bylaw, yes. We'll do, pardon me, bringing forward a report to council on the amending the business license bylaw.
Thank you very much.
My apologies, sorry.
Councillor Rhodes?
Thank you, Mayor McCordoff. I'd like to move option 1A. The council grants first and second reading to zoning amendment bylaw number 1085.110 of 2018.
Thank you. Councillor King seconding that. Anyone else like to go ahead? Councillor Rhodes?
Just a quick comment. I'd like to see this move forward at this particular meeting, so I'm speaking in favor of my own motion, I guess. Only because I'm very interested in the public hearing and the responses that we are going to get back from that. If we don't move forward at this meeting, we will never be able to hear those. So, yeah, I'm very interested in the public hearing process.
Good. Okay, anything else? No? All in favor of option 1A? Thank you very much. And could we have a motion about the public hearing? Councillor King?
Yeah, I'll pass a motion. 1B, council sets a public hearing date for December 3rd at 4 p.m. I presume the location is...
Would it be here, Ms. McKay, in this
Okay.
building? Yeah, okay, thank you. Is there a seconder for that? Thank you. Councillor Bennett? Or did you get, I looked one way and saw the other, so whichever one you choose, was it? Okay, fair enough. I was looking this way and saw Councillor Bennett. Fine, Councillor Harvey got in first. Okay, all in favor? Thank you very much. Next is our Good Neighbor bylaw, and that would be Mr. Dinwiddie.
Thank you, Mayor McCortoff. So every year, the Operational Services Department wages a desperate struggle to control the spread of puncture vine and long spine sandburn in our community. These invasive plant species are particularly aggressive in our area and are the frequent cause of many a popped bike tire along our walking and biking trails. Although our community trails are monitored and preventive actions are taken to eliminate the presence of these invasive plants, they continue to spread throughout our community because property owners may not be managing the boulevard areas in front of their own property. The seeds of puncture vine are easily spread through contact with clothing, shoes, tires, pet fur, etc. So the Operational Services Department would like Town Council to amend the Town of Osoyo's Good Neighbor Bylaw number 1277 to help control the spread of the above-noted invasive plant species in our community. Since highways number 3 and 97 run through our community, this proposed amendment to our bylaw number 1277 was sent to the Ministry of Transportation and Infrastructure for their approval in May of 2018. In a response email from Mr. Kurt Rockerby, who is the Manager of Transportation Policy for MOTI, received October 1st of 2018, he states, the Ministry is of the opinion that the proposed bylaw amendment not apply to highways 3 and 97 within municipal boundaries. The Operational Services Department has no objections to this MOTI request, since MOTI already has an existing program of weed control along those roadways. Therefore, the amended bylaw number 1277 will have to be reread for a third time at a regular council meeting, incorporating the proposed MOTI changes prior to final approval. So the implications for the community are improved control of property-damaging invasive plants in our community. Organizationally, possible reduction in trail maintenance costs if there is a reduction in the number of weed control passes the Operational Services Department crews have to make in the growing season. Budget-wise, there are no impacts. In significant dates, in order for these proposed amendments to be in place for the beginning of the puncture vine and long spine sandburn growing season, usually it's the end of May, the beginning of June, the Operational Services Department requests that Town Council adopt this amendment as soon as possible. Sustainability, there are no impacts. So the options before Council are that Council rescinds the third reading given to Good Neighbour Bylaw number 1277.01 2018 on May 22nd, 2018, and rereads this bylaw for a third time as amended. Option number 2 is that the Good Neighbour Amendment Bylaw number 1277.01 2018 be returned to staff for further changes. And option number 3, that Good Neighbour Amendment Bylaw number 1277.01 2018 be abandoned. The recommendation of administration is that Town Council adopt option number 1. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much. Anybody like to make a motion on this? Thank you, Councillor Rhodes.
Thank you, Mayor McCordoff. I'll move option number 1, the recommended option, as it's worded in the report.
Thanks.
Thank you. Councillor Bennett, you're seconding that. Good. All in favor. So it's just really a housekeeping issue. Yeah. Thank you very much. Next is a council meeting report from Councillor Rhodes, who attended a governance seminar in Kelowna. Is there someone who would make a motion to accept this? Thank you, Councillor King and Councillor Harvey. The rest of us just haven't got ourselves organized yet, so we didn't get ours in. Okay, all in favor? Thank you very much. And next is the Town Centre Renewal Plan. Ms. McKay.
Thank you, Mayor McCordoff. Before we launch into this, let me introduce Don MacArthur.
Sorry, I jumped the gun.
That's okay. Let me introduce Don MacArthur, our senior planner, whose first day is today, although some of you will recall that we had the good fortune of him being up looking for accommodation while the Town Centre Renewal Plan evening meeting was on November 8th, which is also World Town Planning Day. I'm just reminding you, I'll remind you next year again, don't worry. Anyway, welcome, Don. We're so thrilled to have you.
Thanks very much, Madam Mayor, councillors, and those in the public. It's great to be here. I'm excited about all the projects we have going forward, and really just looking forward to getting in and getting started on them. So, thank you.
Good. Well, welcome, Dawn. Thank you very much.
We have lots to keep him busy.
Yes, we do.
Thank you. I'll turn our attention now to the Town Centre Renewal Plan report. So a little bit of background. Downtowns are the heart of any community, a place to shop, dine at a restaurant, obtain services, attend cultural events, meet people, and for many, a place of employment. A vibrant and healthy downtown is especially important for Sousa's continued success as a service and tourist center, and for attracting new business and residential growth. Recognizing this importance, Sousa Town Council provided a budget to retain the services of a qualified consultant to work with town staff in the preparation of a town centre renewal plan. The Town Centre Renewal Plan attached to this report was prepared with community engagement and guidance from the Stakeholder Advisory, that is the task force. The plan applies to the commercial area currently zoned Downtown Commercial 1, the adjoining comprehensive C6 zone, which is where the Watermark Resort is, and the adjacent community parks. So in essence, it extends from the marina south to the bridge and then west towards 87th. So, overview. The Town Centre Renewal Plan is intended to guide decisions by the Town of Vesuvius, private businesses, nonprofit organizations, and the community for 20 years or so. It provides a practical framework to move forward and solidify the Town Centre's role as the heart of town and the region. The goals of the plan are to create enduring business vitality throughout the entire year, make the town center the social and cultural destination with local meaning, organize the town center community for success, and develop physical improvements with the community. The plan includes a number of illustrated concept ideas, and these ideas came from discussions at the community workshop and through analysis of the town center. Illustrated concept in the plan included, for example, potential 4-story mixed-use buildings to increase residents and activity on Main Street, potential back lane improvements to activate the lanes in the town center, potential street tree planting program to cool the streets and amenity and contribute to healthy green town center, and potential 85th Street Plaza as a meeting place on the block north of Main Street. It also includes a number of renewal strategies, and these strategies are aimed at retaining, expanding, and improving the town center based on the important premise that local businesses should come first. Business improvement strategies identified in the plan included establishing a committed staff position as a key driver for business recruitment and retention activities, as well as events planning and project implementation, creating a business improvement or development downtown business association, where memberships can be charged and revenues put into the town center events and programming. Think of bringing more civic activities and destinations into the town center beyond the proposed new museum location, providing opportunities for rooftop patios, pop-up businesses, and food trucks during special events, and opening up other opportunities for live-work opportunities on 74th and 78th Avenue. The next steps in the project, as identified earlier today, are to be implemented at the discretion of council as resources become available. But I did want to mention one thing. It's been come up a couple of times during the staff discussions and discussions with the task force that it seemed like our friends in the sort of areas around the AG Foods were left out of the plan. They are included in the town plan area. I just wanted to make that point. And it's unfortunate we didn't have a lot of representation from those businesses during our community outreach programs and during the participation. I guess with the bump outs, there was a lot of excitement around programming around sort of the Main Street in front of Town Hall here. So staff are planning to reach out to those businesses in that area and speak to them about what they want to see in that area rather than sort of planning for them, because we didn't see a lot of them participating, but obviously they're an important part of our community as well. So I wanted to make sure that we're all on the same page there. With respect to the community, there was 2 well-attended public workshop sessions which were integral to completing the town center renewal plan. Additional public input will also be sought when individual projects are brought forward for council's consideration. So these are like pretty pictures and stuff, but we recognize that council may have other ideas, or there could be other ideas that are spawned out of the plan but aren't specifically identified as a drawing within the plan. So we need to be open-minded about that as well. The town center renewal plan was included in our business plan. With respect to budget, the town had a total budget of $60,000 for the project. $55,000 was allocated to consultant services and $5,000 was kept in reserve for advertising, venue rentals, etc. The project is now complete and has come in on budget. Significant dates. The town center renewal plan project is now completed. This phase of it. Details on the individual projects, again, would be brought forward at council's discretion at their request. Sustainability. A healthy and vibrant downtown is critical for economic, social, and environmental sustainability. And there are 2 options before council. Option 1, that council accepts the information in this report rather as information for future planning programs, and option 2, that council requests additional information. Thank you.
Thank you very much. And we had quite a presentation from Michael Van Housen this morning on this report, and it is included in here, the Osoyoos Town Centre Renewal Plan. It sounds really exciting, and we look forward with our planners to get some of these things underway and get started, even with something that is, you know, the least amount of work or the least cost to kind of get us jump started on this. So thank you very much. So we need to look at option 1 or option 2. Councillor Rhodes.
Thank you, Mayor McCordoff. I'll move that council accepts this report as information for future planning programs.
Thank you. Is there a seconder for that? Councillor Bennett? All in favor? Thank you very much, and thank you for your hard work on this, Ms. McKay. Very much appreciated.
Thank you, but it was a team effort, and everyone participated.
I know.
I see lots of faces. I think all of current council and previous council all participated in our workshops, and your input's invaluable. So thank you.
We need your energy and your positive spunk to get this off the ground. So thank you. Next. Next is the Victim Services program, and that would be Ms. Van Vienna.
Thank you. The town has administered the Victim Services Program on behalf of the province for many years. The funding for the program is set by and provided by the province, and over the past several years, Council has advocated to the minister responsible for increase to the funding. The program is set on one-year fiscal program being April 1st, 2019 to March 31st, 2020. The funding for 2019-2020 is the same as provided in 2018-2019, which is $40,011. Of this amount, at least 80% must go toward wages. The regional district has committed funding toward the administration of the program to a maximum of $5,000 through elector's assent. This will allow for some relief in the budget for administration costs. However, there still remain a need to lobby the provincial government for more funding toward victim services. The program manager covers the town of Osoyoos, RDOS Area A, and Osoyoos Indian Band lands adjacent to these areas. Last year, the province provided an additional $5,000 to the program, which is being used to hire a part-time assistant to the program manager to complete paperwork and fill in during the program manager's absences. It is hoped that this additional funding will be received again in the next fiscal year. The town currently provides benefits to the program manager through an employment contract, which will be brought forward to council if the funding application is approved by the province, which will likely be February or March of 2019. Implications to the community, continuation of the Victim Services Program, organizationally, administration of the program, including the accounting and reporting of the program funds and payroll. Budget, the total budget provided by the province is $40,011. However, the town does provide in-kind costs of up to $4,000 for administration of the program. Up to $5,000 of the administration costs can be recovered through the RDOS upon invoicing. Significant dates, the funding application must be completed and returned to the province no later than January 7th, 2019, and sustainability, continuation of a program that is a great service to the residents of Osoyoos. Options: 1, that staff be directed to complete the funding application for Victim Services Program for the 2019-2020 fiscal year, or 2, that staff be redirected to advise the province that the town is no longer interested in administering the program on their behalf. Staff recommend option 1. This is an important service for the town of Osoyoos. The program manager provides a service to victims of crime, domestic abuse, and notification of next of kin. She is supervised by Sergeant Beta and Corporal Smith.
Thank you very much, Ms. Van Vienna. We have Councillor Bennett.
I'd move that we would go with option 1, that the staff be directed to complete the funding application.
Thank you. Is there a seconder for that? Thank you. Councillor King. I don't think this requires any more discussion on it. We've had this before, and we're quite happy with it, and she's well used, so we are happy that it's going to continue. All in favor of the motion? Thank you very much. Next is the, Ms. Van Bienen, it's you again. Community Emergency Preparedness Fund application.
Thank you. The Community Emergency Preparedness Fund, or CEPF, is intended to enhance the resiliency of local governments and their residents in responding to emergencies. Funding is provided by the province of BC and is administered by UBCM. The town was approached by John Davies of Davies Wildfire, who offered assistance to prepare a grant application. The particular application is being prepared is for the evacuation route planning in the amount of $25,000. If the town is successful in obtaining this funding, an RFP will be prepared for the preparation of an evacuation plan for the town of Oceus. This will cover evacuations due to wildfire, flooding, chemical accidents, etc. As part of the application, a resolution supporting the application for funding is required from council. Implications to the community: a formal evacuation route plan that can be used by police, fire, ambulance, search and rescue, etc. in event of emergencies due to fire, flood, and chemical spills, etc. Organizationally, staff time in providing input into the application, and if successful, preparing an RFP for the preparation of the plan. Budget approximately $1,000 to prepare the application. Significant dates: the application must be submitted no later than November 30th, 2018. And sustainability: a plan that will be suitable for all emergencies for the safe, coordinated evacuation of residents of the town of Oceus. Options: 1, the council support the Community Emergency Preparedness Fund application for the evacuation route planning in the amount of $25,000. Or 2, that council not support the Community Emergency Preparedness Fund application for evacuation route planning in the amount of $25,000. Recommendation: staff recommend option 1. There currently is no formal evacuation plan for the town of Oceus. If funding is received for the preparation of this plan, the final product will include evacuation routes for the town, alternate routes and means of transportation, accommodations, resources needed, vulnerable population needs, and notifications.
Thank you very much. Do we need to, the budget of $1,000, that we don't need to worry about that? Okay. So is there someone who would like to make a motion here? Councillor King?
Thank you, Madam Mayor. I'll move option 1, that council support the Community Emergency Preparedness Fund application.
Thank you. Is there a seconder for that? Councillor Bennett? Anybody like to? Yes, go ahead.
Just to speak, after seeing what happened in Paradise in California, you take a look and you think that everybody can just jump in their car and drive away, and after seeing that, I really think we need this.
I totally agree. No, thank you. So, all in favor of the option 1? Thank you very much. Thank you. And next is the contract for the elevator lift. Your name's Mr. Zackel right now. Is it okay?
And people call me other things, but
Okay, thank you.
So in 2018, the capital budget, Town Council approved funding for the installation of an elevator lift for the Desert Park Grandstands. This budget was established at $50,000. The request for proposals closed October 30th with one bid for this project from Kirkwood Elevators Limited for $35,930 plus taxes. This amount has been reviewed and is within budget. Terms and implications: community improved accessibility for Desert Park Grandstands. None in the organizational budget. It's within budget. Significant dates: the proposal received October 25th is valid for 90 days. Fabrication time is 5 to 8 weeks from receiving approval. Shipping is 3 weeks. No sustainability issues. Terms of options presented to council. Town Council awarded the contract for the 2018 elevator lift for the Desert Park Grandstand project to Kirkwood Elevators Limited for $35,930 plus taxes. 2, the council requests additional information prior to making a decision, and administration recommends option number 1.
Thank you. I'm assuming this is an outdoor lift. It's not inside the building, right?
Yes, outdoor, yeah.
And is it just go to help people up onto the bands? Yeah.
Yes.
Okay. Councillor Harvey.
Could I ask, like, what events we see this being used for? Like, it's, we heard this morning that Medieval Fair is not on next year. We haven't had a horse race there in 3 years. And I'm just kind of curious, what's the driver behind it when it was put into the budget the other year? Or
Well,
earlier last year.
The driver was basically that, first of all, council tries to make all our community facilities accessible, and there was a specific request by I think the Desert Park Society that the grandstands become accessible. I think it was also a recommendation in we had a study done a number of years ago on community accessibility, and this was one of the areas that was identified. And I see some hands, so maybe I'll let other members of council comment.
I'm just wondering if any other options were looked at in terms of portable that could be used in other facilities at the same time, or things of that nature.
I'm sorry, I don't understand the question.
Well, a quick Google search showed a portable lift that would go 6 feet for $7,000 US, for example. I just wonder if, we might get better usage out of something like that.
I guess the design, all was provided was to the contractor was, they came out, took a look at the site, and they provided a spec based on that. We certainly can review it if that's the wish of council in terms of addressing those particular grandstands.
I think it was Councillor Rhodes and then Councillor King.
Thank you, Member Kordoff. So I'm not familiar with elevators that much, other than they get you from the ground up to where you're going in a building. One thing I do know about elevators is that there's an awful lot of after construction costs that go on with them, like provincial inspections that are on a regular basis. They have a tendency to require a fair amount of maintenance and that kind of thing. Are we responsible for that, or will Desert Park be assuming those costs?
We would be responsible for those.
Okay. We have no idea what those would be.
We have no idea what they would be.
Okay.
Councillor King?
Thank you, Madam Mayor. I guess just to give a little better perspective on the background on this, this was presented to the Community Services Committee for review. They thought it was a decent thing to support, and then it was actually moved over when you created the new age-friendly accessibility committee, and they also reviewed it, and they believe with this, people in wheelchairs and can't walk upstairs will have access to the grandstand, and the perception would be that there will be more events up at that park.
Good, thank you. Is there anyone else who would like to, and have we got a motion on the floor? No. Okay, Councillor King.
Yeah, I'll make a motion that Town Councilors award the contract for the 218 elevator lift for Desert Park Grandstand project to Kirkwood Elevators for $35,930 plus taxes.
Thank you. Is there a seconder for that? Thank you. Councillor Rhodes is seconding that. Is there anyone else who would like to speak to this? All right, so it's been moved and seconded. All in favor? Against? Thank you. Okay, that's carried. Next is the fire hall lease renewal, and I assume that's Mr. Mako again.
Okay, the Town of Vesuvius leases a building at 5822 51st Street on the east side of Vesuvius. This lease is to ensure a location on the east side of Vesuvius where the Vesuvius Fire Department houses a portion of their fire protection equipment. The requirements of a second location come from the fire hall study conducted in 2007, and I won't read the paragraph that was pulled out of there, but for the public, basically there is a concern that in the event that there is an accident on the bridge, that the east end of town will have no fire service. So this particular building is rented, and in it is one of the units is stored there. And I just noticed most recently that that unit seems to be going out more often, just to keep it responsive. So the intention is to basically continue with that service and lease the building on an ongoing basis. It also has the support of the fire department. The Town of Vesuvius has leased this building from Mr. Grant since 2005. The lease expires May 31st, 2019, but has an option to renew for an additional 5-year extension as long as the town provides written notice to Mr. Grant within 6 months of the expiry of the agreement. The annual cost for this lease is $14,904, with a minimum annual increase of $360. This annual cost equates to $7.10 per square foot starting June 1st, 2019. In discussions with the fire chief, this building is required and recommended that the town continue to lease this building until traffic flow issues are resolved on the bridge. Mr. Grant was also contacted, and he's willing to extend the lease between himself and the town. In terms of implications, community, continued fire protection services for the community as a whole, including the east side, in the event of issues on the bridge or heavy traffic flows on Highway 3. Organizationally, no changes. Next budget, slight increase due to annually to lease, minimum $360 or CPI Vancouver index. Significant dates to give notice in writing to Mr. Grant 6 months prior to the end of the current lease and sign and execute this agreement before the previous one expires in May 31, 2019. Sustainability to ensure location availability for housing, fire protection equipment remains available. In terms of options, 2 are presented to Council. 1, to authorize the Mayor and Corporate Officer to sign a lease between the Town of Osoyoos and Bob Grant. 2, to not renew the lease for the Fire Hall building at 5822 51st Street. And the recommendation is option number 1.
Thank you very much. Anybody who'd like to make a motion on this? This has been well used for over 10 years, so 13 years. And I like the fact that it's that we have a 5-year lease on it as well. So, Councillor King.
Yeah, thank you, Madam Mayor. Recommend option 1 to authorize the Mayor and Corporate Officer to sign the lease between the Town of Osoyoos and Bob Grant.
Thank you. Thank you. Councillor Bennett seconding that. Any other? Go ahead. Councillor Rhodes.
Thank you, Member Kordoff. Has there ever been any discussions, or could there be any discussions about purchasing a property rather than the leasing aspect, which has a tendency to be quite expensive?
I think there's been discussions in the past, including with discussions with Mr. Grant, and he had, I think, expressed no interest in selling the building. To our knowledge, there's no other building in that east end that's available for purchase. But if council wishes to review that, we do have time to do that. And we would have to just take a look at what the options are.
I know it's not really an appropriate question jumping in on the recommendation that we have here right now, but I would like to see that done. I have a belief that, and it's been supported by an awful lot of facts, that communities that own property, the ones that own the most property, are financially sometimes the most successful. And it's not that I dislike leases; they certainly serve a purpose in our community. But owning property would be preferable, in my opinion.
I think ownership of the property is always, preferred. We would have to again seek out not the approval, but the agreement, probably with our partners. With the Rural Fire Protection District, if they wanted to head in this particular direction. The big thing would be finding an appropriate facility in that end of town.
Yeah, of course.
And like I said, to my knowledge, I'm not aware of one at this point in time. That's not to say that we couldn't quickly seek one out and take a look at and bring this back to council.
The way I have read your report is that we need to have it signed six months prior, which means the end of November. So it doesn't give us a lot of time right now. If we were to sign this and, say, keep the lease for 2 years or something, could we back out of the lease at that time if we found something that we wanted to purchase or build?
I'm not aware of the details of the lease, but certainly, that's something that we could put into the long term. We're doing a fire department strategy right now, and 5 years runs very, very quickly, and that's something that we could take a look at, as making a recommendation from that and move on it, and even move on a more of a short term basis.
You okay with
But
that?
again, as the mayor points out, we're really in a tough corner here right now in terms of time, but that's, I didn't calculate the 6 months, and we're basically have to have another council meeting to approve something if we didn't bring it up at this particular, or have approval at this time.
So what's your wish, Councillor Rhodes?
Well, first off, my wish wasn't intended to jump in the middle of the resolution process, but I think it's a valuable point that I'm making. Certainly, the facts would support, the comments that I made, and yes, 5 years goes by really fast, but it's also 5 years of lease payments that we would have to make, and so if we don't have any other options, I guess that's moot.
But could we add it on to perhaps the fire department project that we're doing right now and have a look at that? So to
Yeah, just that this resolution will cause us to move forward with the five-year renewal, irregardless of what we put into the planning process.
And again, there may be a buyout clause or something that would be, enable us to do that as well. But again, like I'm just thinking about what the options are in terms of buildings in that end of town, and I'm not aware of what the options are.
A couple of years to do it. Okay, so do we have a motion on the floor? And it's seconded? Okay, so point well taken, Councillor Rhodes. We're going to vote on this motion then. Option 1, all in favor? Against? No, we're all in favor. Good, thank you very much. Yes, go ahead.
So do you want a resolution to move forward with that thought, or that idea?
No, that's fine. I'll just make that recommendation to the consultants who are currently working on the report that that council would like to take a look at the East End building in a purchasing mode, and then we'll work on that.
Perfect. Okay. Thank you very much.
Just a reminder that we've inherited a large piece of property in that area of town, and perhaps with some minor zoning changes, we could.
I don't know if that would meet the
criteria
of the Conconi Foundation, but
might not.
Well, if the Palms is on fire, it would be pretty nice.
That's true. Okay, thank you very much. We're now on to the purchase of 2 submersible chopper pumps for the golf course lift station. Mr. Dinwiddie.
Thank you, Mayor McCortoff. The existing lift station was constructed in the early 1980s, and several components are now at the end of their service life. Town Council approved upgrades to this facility as part of the 2018 capital budget process. It is proposed to replace the existing pumps with chopper pumps to reduce the size of solids being pumped into the sewer lagoons. The new system will also have a variable frequency drive, or VFD, which will create a more robust lift station by providing greater control of the system flows and performance, which will also help increase the lifespan of the system. As a result of the upgrades to the main sewage lift station, a more robust lift station design will provide peace of mind that the golf course lift station will continue to operate efficiently during implementation of main lift, as well as service the Dividend Ridge area in the future. The Operational Services Department instructed True Consulting Limited to obtain budgetary quotes for the replacement pumps, and their recommendation letter is attached for your information. The implications for the community are improved performance of the golf course lift station will provide greater confidence in the station's ability to accommodate the future growth of the Dividend Ridge area. The Operational Services Department will have decreased maintenance costs operating the new pumps at the golf course lift station. Budget-wise, the quote obtained by Waste and Water Tech Limited of $56,000, taxes not included, is within the $98,000 approved capital budget for this project. Significant dates: in order for these new pumps to be available for installation in the spring of 2019, it is recommended that Town Council approve this purchase as soon as possible. Sustainability, reducing the size of solids pumped to the sewer lagoons will improve the sewage treatment facility's ability to process this material efficiently and effectively. So the options before Town Council are that Town Council award the contract for the purchase of 2 Vaughan Model S3P103 submersible chopper pumps to Waste and Water Tech Limited for $56,000, taxes not included. Option number 2 is that Town Council award the contract for the purchase of 2 Flight Model FP3153 submersible chopper pumps to Xylem Limited for $45,267, taxes not included. And option number 3 is that Council requests additional information prior to making a decision. The recommendation of the administration is that Town Council adopt option number 1.
Thank you very much. Anybody like to look at this one? Councillor Rhodes?
Thank you, Member Kordoff. Just a quick question. So there's 2 pumps.
Mm-hmm.
Do we use both, or is one a spare?
One's a spare, and then they kind of alternate, like we turn one on, and the next time the next one turns on, sort of thing. One is a backup.
Okay. I wonder if you could just help me out with the difference between the 2.
Flight pumps Flight doesn't make a very good chopper pump. We've discovered in past experiences that the Vaughan particular type of pump is much better at grinding up the solids. Flight does make a chopper pump, but very few people have any experience with the use of those ones. Even the Flight salesman was kind of going, oh yeah, I guess we have those in the back, but no one's ever bought these things, so we have little faith that they actually are going to do what they say they're going to do. Even Flight is kind of iffy on whether they will actually perform like they're supposed to, whereas the Vaughan chopper pump is well known throughout the community, and they do work very, very well.
What can we expect for a lifespan?
Oh, they'll probably last 20, 30 years, something like that.
Okay.
Okay. Councillor Bennett?
Is there the one requires a VFD? Is that a big cost? Like the
Well, the variable frequency drive, it allows you to like throttle the pumps on and off slowly. Like when you don't need them as much, they kind of go up just a little bit. With other older style pumps, they're either on or off. And so when they turn on and off, that's what wears out the motors and stuff like that. So with the variable frequency drive, when they slowly turn on and ramp back up and down, that it's better for it's less hard on the equipment when it does things like that.
Yep,
that's included in the 56,000. Yeah, it's not an extra; it's included in that.
Okay, so do we have a motion on the floor? No. Could we have a motion, please? Councillor Rhodes?
Thank you, Member Kordoff. I'll move option number 1, that Town Council award the contract for purchase of 2 Vaughan Model S3P-103 submersible chopper pumps to Waste and Water Tech Limited for $56,000 and taxes not included.
Thank you very much.
Mouthful.
It was.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Councillor King is seconding that. Any other concerns? All in favor? Thank you very much. Mr. Dinwiddie, would you like to continue with Recycle BC issue?
Sure. Thank you, Member Kordoff. For background, okay, Recycle, as we've told Council before, but we'll just refresh. Recycle BC is a nonprofit organization responsible for the residential packaging and printed paper recycling throughout British Columbia. The town of Osoyoos has participated in Recycle BC's program since its inception, offering residents both curbside collection and depot service. The town of Osoyoos received $73,806 last year in incentives from our participation in the Recycle BC program. At the July 16, 2018 Committee of the Whole meeting, Operational Services Department outlined several changes that Recycle BC would like to implement to their services by July 1st of 2020. The current agreement with Recycle BC expires November 30th of 2018, and they are looking to sign a new 5-year contract with us prior to that. If an agreement is not reached by November 30th of 2018, the town of Osoyoos will no longer be part of the Recycle BC program, which means there will be no packaging and printed paper recycling program in the community. It is impractical for the town of Osoyoos itself to be fully responsible for the recycling, sorting, and marketing of all materials. Not only would the town of Osoyoos be fully responsible for the cost of collection, we would also have to pay to recycle all materials collected. And it should be noted that the worldwide market for recycled materials is currently at an all-time low. Town Council has been briefed several times about Recycle BC's plan to eliminate the use of blue bags as a container for recyclable materials, most recently at a November 7th, 2018 meeting. At the October 15th, 2018 regular council meeting, the Operational Services Department was instructed to send a letter outlining the community's concern over this change to Recycle BC's operating procedures, and that task was completed October 31st, 2018. At the time of writing this report, Recycle BC had not responded to that letter. They have now responded to that letter. The RDOS is also in the same situation with Recycle BC in this matter, and they are proposing to hold several public meetings over the next few months to gather information on what type of collection containers their customers would prefer to use. The town of Osoyoos is welcome to participate in this process. The options available to the residents on collection container types are listed below in a nice little chart. Both the town of Osoyoos and the RDOS have signed a 5-year, plus an option for 2 additional years, contract with Waste Connections Canada to operate our curbside collection program. A meeting was held October 23, 2018, with Waste Connections Canada to discuss how this change in recycled collection containers would impact the delivery and price of their service. If the town was to choose the customer-supplied container or smaller recycling box option, there would be no change to the existing contract. Waste Connections Canada would simply request their residents be informed what type of container would be preferred from an operational and safety point of view. If the majority of people choose to switch to the larger cart system, then a renegotiation of the existing contract would be required. This process would take place prior to July 1st of 2020, the deadline for banning blue bags imposed by Recycle BC. So the implications for the community: if an agreement is not signed between Recycle BC and the town of Osoyoos before November 30th of 2018 deadline, there will no longer be a packaging and printed paper recycling program available in the community. The result will be that all recycling will now go directly into the landfill, ultimately shortening our landfill's operating life. Organizationally, increased curbside garbage collection, since all packaging and printed paper material will now be disposed of in the trash. Budget-wise, if a large recycling cart option is selected by the community as a collection container for packaging recycling, there may be an increase in curbside collection fees. This increase would be attributed to the cost of the carts and the operating system. Alternatively, the town can purchase the carts and absorb all associated costs. Significant dates: the agreement to continue participation in Recycle BC program must be signed by November 30th, 2018. Sustainability: if the community does not participate in the Recycle BC program, increased garbage collection will shorten the life expectancy of the Osoyoos sanitary landfill. So the options before council are: town council signs the statement of work for curbside and depot collection of packaging and printed paper material with Recycling BC. Option number 2 is town council does not sign the statement of work for curbside and depot collection for packaging and printed paper material with Recycle BC and abandons our existing recycling program. And option number 3 is that town council requests additional information prior to making a decision. Administration recommends town council adopt option number 1.
Thank you very much. I'd just like to say that I did talk to, I think I mentioned at the last one, talked to Cameron Bond at the RDOS, and he did say that he would certainly come down. I know he's talked to Mr. Dinwiddie, and there would be some public meetings available in the town of Osoyoos for Area A and for the town to look at the options. But I appreciate the fact that there are some options now.
Yep.
It seemed at the beginning that we didn't have any other options but to, well, either not sign or sign and go through a full shift in the program. So we can certainly look at these.
Yeah, and you don't have to choose the collection container until July 1st of 2020.
And apparently, according to Cameron Bond, there you can use a box and put the
sticker on
recycling
it.
on the side. So
Yes, and Mr.
there
Bond
are
has
options.
40,000 stickers that he's willing to give us.
Absolutely, we can get those. Councillor King.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. Yeah, I guess just for clarity, because this is in 220, I guess somewhere in the spring of 220, you'd be coming forward with those type of options for big, small. Would it go to?
Yeah, Mr. Bond was threatening to do his his public presentations and stuff like that as early as December of this year. So in the winter, so December, January, February of this year, trying to gather information on what the people would like for curbside collection containers.
This doesn't kick into 220.
Yeah.
So you're still a year ahead of yourself?
Well, that gives us time to then negotiate. If we decide to go with a large cart system, then that gives us time to negotiate with Waste Connections Canada and all that other kind of stuff before 220 actually, the deadline of July 1st.
So we'd be putting this into next year's budget or year after if this went forward?
Possibly, yeah.
Possibly which one?
I would probably go into the implementation would probably be in the 2020 budget.
Okay, thank you.
But we do have to decide something now
Yeah, for
because
sure.
this
Oh,
has
yeah.
to be signed
Yeah.
by the end of November if we need
Yes.
to. So, is there someone who'd like to make a motion, please? No? Go ahead, Councillor Harvey.
I'll move option 1 as worded.
Thank you. Councillor Bennett, are you seconding that? Thank you. Did you want to speak to it, Councillor Rhodes?
No, Rhodes, where's your rant?
Well, I think we discussed it in intense detail at our last meeting.
Yeah.
And also got a reply to our letter that we requested as well. That was somewhat professional, but certainly not what I wanted to hear, but we'll move forward with that, I guess.
Okay. All right, so we have mover and seconder for option 1. All in favor? Thank you very much. And next is the, I know,
We.
number 9, yes, the we report. Mr. Romanko, are you going to?
Yeah, I will speak to that.
Okay.
So this morning, Council heard a very eloquent presentation from 4 students from the Osoyoos Elementary School requesting that Council provide some support for the 15 students and 3 adult supervisors to go to the We Day, what would you call it, We Day event in Vancouver. And I must say that they've become very polished over the years,
Yeah, very.
and it was quite done quite well. So although there was no specific monetary request, I can tell Council last year that the Council did support them in the amount of $1,250, and they also made a request for the use of the town bus, and last year the Council provided them use of the town bus.
Good. Okay, thank you very much. So, Councillor Rhodes.
So I did not get a copy of that report. So you want a resolution at this point?
There was no written report.
Okay.
That was the report.
Oh, okay. So how are we going to move forward with it?
Just
Make a
by a resolution, yeah.
I'd like to move that we offer a cash donation of $1,500, $1,500, plus the requested use of our bus for that time period.
You need 2 separate ones?
Can be all in one.
Yeah.
Okay, is there a seconder?
I'll second
Councillor
that.
King. Councillor Rhodes, did you want to speak to that? That's a bump from last year.
Well, certainly costs go up over the year, and I know it the amount of the donation that we make to them is not really based on how costs go up every year, but they certainly will. I'm sure their accommodation will be more this year, but when these young members of our community come here and speak to us with these requests, it is so seductive and it's so hard to say no that I'd like to move forward with that resolution that we have right now. Maybe not based so much on common sense and logic, but certainly I'm speaking with my heart today, and I'd be happy if we could move forward with that.
Thank you. So it's now been moved. Did you want to speak to
Yeah,
it?
thank you, Madam
go
Mayor.
ahead.
I think that public's got to be aware, too. I believe they send 15 students to this event, so when you break it down, it's only $100 a student.
Good. Okay. So we have it moved and seconded that $1,500 plus the use of the bus. I presume they have a driver for the bus?
I
Good.
assume so, yeah.
I think they must have felt as a lot. And does it have snow tires on it, the bus?
No.
Yes, it does.
Oh, good.
It's made this trip before, so.
Okay,
That's a
so
year
it
ago.
must have. All right, all in favor of the motion? Thank you very much. Before we go on, I just want, and I wasn't sure whether Mr. McGuire was going to stay for, sometimes he scoots out before the end of this, so I just wanted to take this opportunity, Richard, to thank you very much for your coverage of all events that the town has put on, and for all of your reports and your editorials in the Osoyoos Times. Mr. McGuire is leaving at the end of the month, although he's not leaving Osoyoos. He's going to be here, probably sitting back there, heckling us. Is that correct? So we understand that the Osoyoos Times is being left in good hands, and that that you will have hopefully a much needed a break, and that you will get some of your special chores that you wanted to do and your bucket list ready to go. So thank you very much for covering Town Council and all of its events and all of the events in Osoyoos for many years. We certainly appreciate it and look forward to some pictures I'm sure that you will be giving us the various places that you visit. So thank you. I'll go on to the general net payroll and Sun Bowl Arena financial accounts, and I will report on those to November the 19th, 2018. So general cash requirements of $1,030,622.24. Sun Bowl cash requirements of $8,329.30. And those two would be by consensus. And the net payroll accounts of $193,583, and that would be for information. And the next is the building report. And I see that we have a few more single-family dwellings, and total for the month is $1,285,000, and a total to date of $15,115,200, and that's up by $3 million from last year. So it looks to me like people are doing things at their house. Anybody? No, we're okay with that. It's always interesting to get these reports and look at the building permits that are being handled. Do we need a motion, please? Could we have a motion, please? Councillor Rhodes, Councillor Bennett, that we accept that report. All in favor? Thank you very much. And we will go back to our CAO report.
Thank you, Mayor McCordoff. Just a few of the activities that the administration has been involved in. First of all, in community services, the draft of the leisure guide has been completed and will be sent to print on Wednesday. New swings have been installed at the Kinsman Park. We're just waiting for the fill, the landing fill to be brought in and to finish the project. Work has also been started on an updated wellness guide, and there will be a wood carving workshop held at the Sonora Center for Kids and Adults this week, November 21st to 23rd. In corporate services, postings has been made for the operational services manager, and they completed the hiring of the senior planner, who we met today, Don MacArthur, working on one Freedom of Information request. Council orientation manual was completed, and a lot of work has gone into finalizing the elections. So also in terms of transit future planning, there will be a public open house at the Osoyoos Town Hall Council Chambers on Tuesday, December 4th from 8 a.m. till 9:30, and all those wishing to see the options for regionalizing the transit system between Penticton and Kelowna can get a look at them at that particular point in time. In terms of planning and development, again, Don MacArthur joins the Planning and Development Department as a new planner, senior planner, continuing to work on the downtown renewal plan, and business license bylaw update is in progress right now. Just as a matter of interest, in terms of the numbers of the building permits, there are 90 building permits so far this year and 34 new home constructions. In terms of public works, the installation of the canal path lighting is now complete, and a decorative plaque will be installed by November 23rd. The Highway number 3 storm sewer installation is now complete. The road realignment at Kingfisher and 89th is just about complete. We just need to install some fence and signage at Jack Shaw Gardens, as well as landscaping, and I think we're going to be putting up some trees there as well, right along that bank. That's the last I heard. I just have to confirm that. The Fortis has now installed the necessary power pole by the welcome sign in the north end, so the sign is now fully operational. Irrigation districts 8 and 9 have been shut down for the winter season, and the seasonal boil water notice has been rescinded. And of course, installation of the Christmas decorations is well underway. In terms of myself, participated in the council orientation workshop, attended the town center renewal unveiling, completed the community energy agreement, reviewed all the applications for the community development manager and notified the 20 applicants of the cancellation of the competition. Administration will be taking a new strategy with the economic development area by distributing the work amongst the CAO, Planning Department, and Council-approved contracting budget. This was a joint decision of the CAO and the Planning Director as a method of receiving the best quality service within the town's existing budget. The decision was enabled by the strength and quality of the staff that we have been able to recruit to our Planning Department.
Terrific. Thank you very much. Could we have a motion, please, to accept the CAO report? Thank you, Councillor King, Councillor Rhodes. All in favor? Thank you. And now we will go on to council reports. Councillor King, you're first.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. Attended the open house for the Downtown Revite. It was great to see the presentation and the drawings and some great ideas that came forward. Also attended the Remembrance Day celebration. I really want to thank the staff and especially the Legion for the amount of work they do and the veterans of our past, and just see the town that supports it again. Just see standing room only. And on a kind of a personal note, I went up to the Desert Valley Hospice fundraising Saturday night, and I purchased my Christmas supplies.
And he takes a large check with him.
Thank you. I was going to bring some tea, but I didn't want to embarrass your wife.
Thank you, Councillor King.
Thank you.
Councillor Harvey.
Yeah, I have nothing to report other than attending the same meetings as Jim just mentioned.
Thank you. Councillor Bennett.
Same thing. I attended the November 11th. Also the Desert Valley with Councillor King, and it's quite interesting. They went over to pay my little $35 a day, and I think they raised a little over $15,000. Had probably 150 people there, so it was a really great event. And I think Mr. King was a big contributor to that. So thanks, Jim. And this week we have school board tomorrow, and then destination facilities on Thursday.
Good.
And CJ's birthday, December 14th.
Thank you for reminding
How
us.
is that significant?
Thank you. Councillor Rhodes.
Thank you, Member Kordoff. Way to go, Richard. Sorry to see you leave. Good job. Hope you stick around forever. Yeah, thought I'd throw that in there. Spent 2 days at the regional district last week. Basically, their inaugural meeting and 2 days of orientation. And if you've ever tried sitting in the same chair for 17 hours over 2 days, that in itself is a test of endurance. Learned so much. I always pride myself in knowing lots. When you go to these things, you find out how little you really know and how much you're able to learn. Had a very, very interesting legal portion of the orientation on conflict of interest for councillors and protecting some of the things that go on in our in-camera / closed meetings. It was very, very interesting to have that perspective given to us. And, I want to go back to November 11th. I certainly echo everything Councillor King said about it. What a fantastic turnout that we had year after year after year. We don't get more people because the place is pretty much full, so we can't really cram any more numbers in there. But I just wanted to throw something out there just to bring it in perspective. In my little estimate, I think 10% of our population showed up there. So I went on Statistics Canada's website, and just for a comparison, the population of the city of Edmonton is approximately 1.3 million people. if they were to get 10% of their population out like we do, that is about 130,000 people, I think it is. Commonwealth Stadium seats 63,000 people when it's crammed full. The new hockey arena that they have there seats approximately 21,000 people when it's full. If both of those events, the Edmonton Eskimos and the Edmonton Oilers, happened all in the same day, they wouldn't even get half that many people out. So we're doing really well, and the respect showing to the people that really deserve respect in that particular day is just amazing in this community. So I just wanted to help people kind of understand how great it really is in our community on that particular day. So.
Good. Thank you very much. So I also sat for 17 hours in the seats at the regional district, and Councillor Rhodes is correct. I said to Mr. Newell, I certainly, I've been sitting there for 4 years, every 2 weeks, and doing a refresher course in all of the things that are involved with being in the regional district was very helpful, because there were many things that I remembered, but a few things I needed a little refresher on. So that was a busy 2 days. And the 2 days before then, I was at the TOTA, Thompson Okanagan Tourist Association meetings that were held at Spirit Ridge. And you heard about some of that this morning. It was very interesting to see all of the tourist people from the entire region, Thompson Okanagan. There were people there from chambers of commerce and tourist bureaus, and I was quite amazed, and so I quite enjoyed hearing about it. The one thing that I thought was so interesting was that there were 4 groups, 2 from Thompson Rivers and 2 from the one in Kelowna, Okanagan College, and they made presentations to those people there, students, on they were given a project, accessibility, and how they could to work with that. Each group had about 10 minutes, and they were phenomenal. The presentations and their ideas that came up with. One I thought was very interesting was a group from Thompson Rivers, and one of the presenters was Kelsey Lura, whose father works in operational services, John Lura. So she grew up here. It was quite nice to see somebody local taking part in this. So one of the things that I noticed was that the TOTA is trying to, and everywhere in the Okanagan and Thompson region, expand what they used to call the 45 magical days, beginning of July to the middle of August. Those were the days that the tourists and the hotels and so on would try and make most of their money. It's now been expanded from shoulder seasons up to 110 days, and they are hoping to expand it further with wine events and ski events and anything that they can do to try and counteract the effects of possibly smoke and fires and flooding. So they're looking at trying to see what will draw people here, and it was quite amazing. So I thoroughly enjoyed that. Minister Baer, who's the Minister of Tourism, Arts and Culture, and 2 of her staff were also there. So we arranged, CAO Romanko and I, to, just before it got dark, take them on a little tour of the projects in Osoyoos that have been funded over the last 10 years with resort municipality funding. And they were very pleased to be able to spend half an hour with us, and I was stuck in the middle in the back seat, Barry's car, and unfortunately I was trying to get my seatbelt out on this side when I should have been on this side, and I'm sure the CAO was thinking, there's a problem here. But anyway, I did get an email today from Minister Baer's staff saying how much they appreciated having this and what a lovely place Osoyoos was. So that was a very positive thing. I just want to mention Christmas Light Up, and that's coming up before we have our next council meetings. So if this is the 30th annual Christmas Light Up celebration. It is on Friday, November the 30th, and Saturday, December the 1st. And our Light Up Parade is on Friday, November 30th at 6:30. And there's also breakfast at Smitty's that morning from 7 o'clock until 10 o'clock, and that is a free breakfast for anyone who comes in and makes a donation of cash or toys for tots to teens, and it's very well attended, and Santa usually makes an appearance there. And then on Saturday morning there is a breakfast and pictures with Santa. This is mostly for younger people, but anybody is welcome. And this year it's going to be over at the Campo Marina. And there is a craft fair, excellent craft fair, at the Legion from 9 o'clock until 3 o'clock on the 1st. So please come out and support the Osoyoos Festival Society and Christmas Light Up. And the other thing that's on that day, in Osoyoos, November the 30th at 7:30 at night at the Elks Hall, and December the 1st at the Elks Hall, is the latest soap play, South Okanagan Players, and that's called It's a Wonderful Life, a live radio play, and they oftentimes have it up at the theater, but I think that the organizer is an Elk, and he was able to get a deal and get the Elks Hall. So there are lots of things on in the next couple of weeks. You can't get to all of them, but sometimes you can go to 2 in one day, and please enjoy all of the things that are on in Osoyoos, and we certainly appreciate it when people shop locally. So that's my report for today. Thank you, and could we have a motion to adjourn? Thank you. Councillor King, Councillor Bennett, all in favor. Thank you, everybody.
Yeah, thanks.